Toups Graphics presents Mastering the Staar Test, 6th grade math. Today we'll learn how to add and subtract fractions. Let's say you eat 1/4 of a cookie and your friend eats 1/3 of a cookie. How much of the cookies did you eat? To do this problem, we need to add the two quantities. But the key is when you add and subtract fractional quantities, the pieces have to be the same size. But how can we make the pieces the same size? You need a secret weapon. It's called the LCM, or least common multiple. The least common multiple is the smallest common multiple of a set of numbers. If you find the LCM of the denominators, it will make them the same. The LCM helps you find the common denominator. When modeling fractions, the common denominator will make the pieces of the modeled fraction become the same size. To combine 1/4 and 1/3, we need to find the LCM of the denominators of 4 and 3. The multiples of 4 and 3 follow. The least common multiple would be 12. 12 is going to be the LCM, which means it will also be the common denominator. That means we need to make equivalent ratios with denominators of 12. We'll multiply by 3 and 4 to turn the denominators into twelfths. Whatever you do to the denominator, you do to the numerator. Our new ratios are 3/12 and 4/12. Let's look at the model of 1/4. If you cut it twice vertically, it becomes 3/12. Now let's look at the 1/3. If you slice 1/3 3 times across horizontally, it becomes 4/12. Now if you look at the modeled fractions, the pieces have become the same size. Each rectangle has 12 equally sized spaces. One of the rectangles has 3 of the pieces X, the other has 4. To find the sum of the fractions, you would combine the numerators. 3 plus 4 is 7. The answer would be 7/12. Let's look at another problem. Let's do 2/3 minus 1/8. Step 1 is to find the least common multiple, which will turn into the common denominator. To find the LCM, you need to write out the multiples of the denominators. The least common multiple would be 24. Since the LCM is 24, the common denominator will also be 24. That means we need to make equivalent ratios with 24 as the denominator. To change thirds to 24ths, we need to multiply by 8. Whatever you do to the denominator, you do to the numerator, so the 2/3 will become 16/24. To change 8ths to 24ths, you need to multiply by 3. Whatever you do to the denominator, you do to the numerator. 1 times 3 is 3, so 1/8 becomes 3/24. Now let's look at our models. If we take the 2/3 and slice it 7 times horizontally, we get 16/24. To change 1/8 to 24ths, you need 2 vertical cuts. That would make the 1/8 turn into 3/24. Notice that by getting a common denominator, the pieces in the fraction models become the same size. Now we can subtract the numerators because the pieces are equivalent sizes. 16 minus 3 would be 13. The difference of 2/3 and 1/8 would become 13/24. Now, a word from our sponsor. Do you wish you could make everything the same size? You need the LCM. The LCM can turn unequal denominators into the same quantity. The LCM, it's your common denominator. The LCM, it makes everything the same. Now it's your turn. Let's combine 1/2 and add it to 2/5. You need to draw the models, find the LCM to get the common denominator, and find the sum of 1/2 and 2/5. Step 1 is to find the LCM of the denominators. The LCM turns into the common denominators. Write out the multiples of 2 and 5. The least common multiple would be 10. Since the least common multiple is 10, your common denominator will also be 10. That means we need to rewrite 1/2 and 2/5 with denominators of 10. To change 1/2 to tenths, you need to multiply by 5. Whatever you do to the denominator, you do to the numerator, so 1/2 becomes the equivalent ratio of 5/10. You need to multiply 2/5 times 2 to create tenths. That means you would multiply the numerator by 2 also. The 2/5 would become 4/10. Now let's look at the models. To model 1/2, you need 1 red X. To model the 2/5, you would need 2 red X's. To change 1/2 into tenths, you would need 4 horizontal lines drawn through the shape. To turn 2/5 into tenths, you only need 1 vertical horizontal line splitting the figure. Now that our model has the pieces being the same size, we can combine the numerators. 5/10 and 4/10 would be 9/10. The sum of 1/2 and 2/5 would be 9/10. Now let's see if you can do 2/3 minus 1/4. Remember, step 1 is to find the LCM of the denominators. The LCM will turn into the common denominator. To find the LCM, you need to write out the multiples. The LCM of 3 and 4 would be 12. Since the LCM is 12, the common denominator will also be 12. That means we need to turn the thirds and fourths both into twelfths to make equivalent ratios. To change thirds into twelfths, we'll multiply by 4. Whatever you do to the denominator, you do to the numerator, so 2/3 will change into the equivalent ratio of 8/12. To change the fourths into 12ths, we'll multiply by 3. Whatever you do to the denominator, you multiply the numerator by. So the 1/4 turns into the equivalent ratio of 3/12. Now let's look at our models. To make 2/3, you need 2 x's. To make 1/4, we'll need 1 x. Now to make our 12ths, we'll need 3 horizontal cuts in the thirds to make 2/3 turn into 8/12. And to turn the fourths into 12ths, we'll need 2 vertical cuts. Now that the common denominator has made the pieces in the models the same size, we can get the difference of 2/3 and 1/4. The difference of 2/3 and 1/4 would be 5/12. This video has been sponsored by the LCM. The LCM, it makes your common denominator a possibility. This video is produced by Toups Graphics. Toups Graphics. Always believe.